Hey everybody, Joshua Mobley here from IGN.com, and I'm joined by Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. How are you doing, sir?
Doing well, thanks for having me.
All right, we're sitting here, we're playing Path of Exile, which is a top-down action RPG similar to games like Diablo. It's free to play.
That's correct.
100% free to play. While I've got you here and we're talking about free to play, how exactly are there microtransactions in this game? How does Grinding Gear Games actually make money?
So there are microtransactions, so they're entirely cosmetic, so we don't sell any advantage in the game. You can't pay for power.
Oh, good to know. That's cool.
And we're using the same business model on both PC and Xbox One. Game is free, expansions are free, and you can buy microtransactions if you want to support it.
Yes, so this game came out on Xbox One just recently.
Yeah, in August.
Correct? Cool. And are there any plans to bring it to something like the Switch or the PS4?
We're looking into other options, but for the time being, we've just got the Xbox One version.
Cool. And then for the Xbox One version, I'm curious, the UI, do you specifically customize the UI for the platform, similar to like the way Blizzard, when they re-released Diablo 3 on the PlayStation and the Xbox, they kind of redid like the whole UI in this like radial menu kind of thing. Do you guys do that as well, or are you confident in your UI design in that it's good for both platforms?
We've made some big changes to how the combat controls work because it's using a controller, and we have redone the rest of the UI as well to be more appropriate for a controller, but we've tried hard to keep things like the grid-based inventory, for example, which you can see. Jonathan, if you load the inventory up. So this is how the inventory works, nice weighty items, so you really get a sense of space and so on. And we've kept that for the Xbox rather than switching to a list of items.
Gotcha. Cool. All right, so what we're playing right now is the new expansion, the War for the Atlas. So as someone who didn't really play a lot of Path of Exile, I play a lot of games like Diablo, Warframe, Destiny and stuff. Why would someone like me be interested in something like Path of Exile? Clearly this is a genre that I absolutely love. And it's a game that I've dipped into, I think, once before, but it didn't grab me initially. But watching you play, I'm kind of like, man, I kind of want to do this. This seems pretty fun. I love these kind of games. So for someone like me, what is different about Path of Exile besides being completely free, which is a very attractive thing for a lot of gamers?
So aside from the business model and the fact that we update it with 4 expansions or leagues a year to keep the content rolling in, the biggest point which people love to compare is character customization. Path of Exile has some deep stuff going on with the amount of character options. So let's have a look at support gems, for example. So we have a skill here, I believe Ice Shot, which by default will fire an Ice Shot. In this case it's firing 2 because this character's earned the ability to fire a second arrow. But there are various support gems we can put on that modify its behavior. So for example, you add multiple projectiles and that will fire more arrows at once. And we have dozens and dozens of these support gems. Chain means that when we hit an enemy, the shots will bounce to other enemies, which we can hopefully illustrate when we find some monsters.
I think I saw some down to the south a little bit. Yeah.
I've been busy clearing them up. So in this case, the shots are going to hit one monster and then chain out to other ones, which works really well when you got big packs together. There's also the passive skill tree, which Jonathan's in a fight at the moment. This is a part of the expansion here where the elder antagonist will suck the life out of a boss in order to make a new one. So
is
anyway,
that what he's doing right now?
Yes, that's correct. So once he's finished his life sucking, you can have a look at the passive skill tree. So there's quite a large
oh my
web
goodness.
web of options here. Now all the character classes share the same tree, and you can travel from one to another part of it, which is kind of like in Magic the Gathering, how you could be playing a green deck, but you could put some blue spells in it as a blue splash. Here, this is a pure dexterity ranger, but she's gone up to the north near where the witch is in an attempt to get some skills from up there. In this case, some critical strike damage ones, I believe.
This reminds me a lot of the Final Fantasy X sphere grid. Was that design influential on this?
This evolved mostly by itself, but I absolutely see the comparison. Having not played Final Fantasy X myself, I look at that and it functions a little bit differently in some key ways.
Right.
Like with this one, you don't personally have a location on the grid. You can expand in any direction, and there's certainly that. For example, Jonathan, could you zoom in on the Ascendancy skill thing? We've added many different customization options, like your character gets the ability to choose a subclass that has a much smaller concentrated tree of specific abilities, kind of like a talent tree from a game like World of Warcraft, for example, where as you complete certain difficult challenges, you get the ability to unlock some special points on there. But with character customization, we have hundreds and hundreds of skill gems that can be combined with dozens and dozens of supports. There's 600 unique items, I think 650 soon with this expansion, which have specific preset properties done by the designers, as well as the rare and magic items. They're a lot like games like Diablo, where you get infinite permutations of stuff in there. Even the areas in the game can get properties on them. For example, Jonathan's running a map here. These are items that you find, and you can re-roll them to add mods just like other items. And so everything is customizable with crafting tools within the game.
So you can even, so what, from what I understand, is you are using these tokens to go to maps.
Yes.
Where you fight monster stuff, but you can actually modify these tokens
That's
to
right.
make them harder or easier, or give you different rewards.
Yeah, and the same crafting things that work on your items also work on the maps. So you can, it's the same pool of wealth that you're using to craft both.
Oh, interesting. That's very cool.
The map properties always make the map harder while also increasing the rewards. So you never make the game easier for yourself. You choose to opt in for additional difficulty in return for extra rewards. So players try to push themselves as hard as they can.
Interesting. Very cool. I see that with the new expansion, War for Atlas, by the way. People forgot what it's called. You're into adding something called the Abyss League. Tell me about what that is.
So the way that challenge leagues work, and the Abyss is a challenge league, is every 13 to 16 weeks or so we release, it's like a new economy or a fresh server, you know, a bit like a Diablo season, for example. And so people can start fresh characters in this league, it's a fresh economy, and everyone wants to race to the top. Now, we always apply a theme and special gameplay rules, and the Abyss one is one where we've been careful not to show off too much of it because we're careful not to show off too much of the Abyss League because it's a bit of a surprise for when the game comes out. But we've got a little teaser of it here where you get these abysses that arc off into the distance, and then these these holes to the underworld come out. Monsters climb out, you have a difficult fight, and if you can complete it in time, you get the ability for it to chain further, and you get more monsters, harder and harder fights. They're really ripping Jonathan to pieces
So it's
here.
almost like a mix between like a public event in like a Destiny, but also like, oh my god, like a horde mode in like a first-person shooter. Or
and
something.
this crops up randomly every like 15 minutes or so while you're playing in that particular league. So it's like an additional property which makes the game different while you're playing in it. And we encourage people to play in these challenge leagues because it's a fresh start under slightly different game rules. And honestly, there's been a bit of inflation going on with the way that we're running these challenge leagues. They're becoming basically their own mini expansions unto themselves. Like the Abyss League has bosses and areas and all sorts of crazy itemization and stuff going on in that league.
So in a game like Diablo 3, I was really into the seasons for a long time because it was like a cool, fun thing to like re-roll a character. Like, I'm going to be an ice mage in the season.
Right.
That sounds like something fun to do. And talking about the skill trees and stuff, it seems like you get to do all that really cool customization stuff that I love in Diablo. In terms of rewards, if I'm rolling a new character every 16 weeks or during your seasons or whatever, do I get, based on how well I do or what I accomplish, do I earn rewards based on that kind of thing?
Absolutely. We've got cosmetic microtransactions that you can earn in return for completing challenges. And this predates Diablo 3 seasons. You know, we had this stuff in there a number of years ago, and it's been very popular at establishing a pattern where the players know that reliably they can play new Path of Exile stuff every 3 or so months.
That's very cool. That must be very tiring, trying to come up with expansion stuff all constantly.
Yeah. We have a big team now, and the players have been supporting as well, so we're able to put the money back into making sure that the game grows and grows.
Very cool. And in terms of what kind of cosmetic items I can receive, like what kind of stuff do you sell? Is it like skins or transmog things, or like what pets? Like what?
We've got all of that. You can,
all of it. Okay.
It's difficult for us to show, unfortunately, because we're not connected to the internet at the moment.
We're in a developer.
But
environment.
you can get skins for your weapons, for your armor, whole new armor sets. You can get particle effects to go on everything. You can get pets. You can get the ability to swap. If you find an item that you like the look of, you can pay like 50 cents to swap it onto another item. And so it's basically all the dress up you get if you want. We also sell some long-term storage space. So this isn't inventory space that affects you while you're actively playing, but it's additional stash tabs of various types. Like they let you organize your currency and that kind of stuff. And so we see a decent amount of sales of storage space as well, because some players just don't know where to throw items away and they want to hoard stuff.
Yeah, I as a Destiny player, I'm very familiar with the. I never want to throw anything away because I never know if I'm ever going to need it. But coming from someone who hasn't played much Path of Exile but played a lot of these other action RPG games, and you say that you come up with expansions and patches every 3 months, how easy or difficult would you say it is for someone who's brand new, maybe not brand new to the genre, but brand new to the game, to try and come in and play?
We think that the challenge leagues are a great time to come in because everyone's on an equal playing field. On day one, when it comes out and you install it, even if you're new, everyone else has a level 1 character too. Sure, they know what they're doing to some degree, but we mix things up enough that they're also a bit confused with the new mechanics. And there's a really welcoming community and a good subreddit and a wiki with resources. The part of the joy of the game is discovering stuff. Like, to some extent, having a friend show you how it all works on the first day kind of ruins the experience compared to the voyage of discovery of just installing it and playing. And while the game has a reputation for having some really complicated interactions in there, it's also a game where you point and click to move and attack, right? The actual basic controls are pretty easy.
Right.
And so it's building on a heritage of many other RPGs that have taught people how to play this type of game.
Very cool. And when does this new expansion come out? And actually, I wanted to ask, all of your patches are 100% free too, as well,
That's correct,
right?
yes.
And when does War for the Atlas come out?
War for the Atlas comes out on December 8th on PC, and within a week of that time or so on Xbox. We don't have an exact date for that yet.
Very cool. All right, well, thank you very much for coming by and showing me the game. And for more on Path of Exile, stay tuned to IGN.